Netflix has a long history of absolutely butchering our beloved childhood shows and movies. Yes, I'm looking at you anime live-action adaptations. But surprisingly enough, every now and then, they manage to come up with something that just hits the spot. One such work that takes me back to my childhood and is still enjoyable to watch is She-Ra. We'll be diving headfirst in some of the major changes that have been made to the show. Buckle up and be careful. Spoilers ahead. 1. Character design first up. We have the new character design, which is simply beautiful, and more importantly, diverse. It almost seems as if the animators took inspiration from Steven Universe in terms of colors and character modeling. The character models on the original version of the show were a bit too bland and indistinguishable, which is understandable, since this makes it easier to make figures and other merch. And with other popular shows of the time, such as Thundercats and He-Man following the same design language, pretty much made it the norm. But the new character designs are so much more unique, expressive, and vibrant. It really adds a whole new layer to the characters' personalities. 2. Adora's personality. Talking about personalities, the new Adora is very different from her older self, especially since she is depicted as a younger version of herself. In the original version, she was your typical, perfect woman with perfect morals and ideals. She was shown to be perfect in every way, making her appear very stiff and boring. Our young She-Ra, though, is way more human than she's ever been. She's young, silly, goofy, yet caring and responsible. In short, a perfectly flawed person working hard on improving herself every way she can, all while still being extremely OP, of course. But this makes her far more relatable and likable. Perhaps the biggest change made to her personality is her love life, but we'll talk about that further down the list. 3. Additional lore. The new adaptation will finally allow us to see what our favorite characters, Adora, Catra, and Scorpia, were like before joining the Princesses Alliance. Catra and Scorpia have always been really close friends, even during their days as force captains in the Herode. But most importantly, we also see the beginning of the confusing relationship between Catra and Adora. 4. No He-Man. Now, He-Man was a really popular cartoon back in the day, and originally he was shown to be Adora's brother. The two of them were both orphans and were separated at birth, and this was clearly an attempt made by the producers of He-Man to attract a female audience to the TV show, as it was seen as a cartoon for boys. However, this is not shown or referred to in the reboot at all. She-Ra isn't displayed to the audience as the supportive female lead to a male protagonist, but as an independent person herself, even though there are still references to Grayskull and Eternia, which they never explained in the reboot. 5. Art style. Okay, we know both shows released so far apart that it's no surprise that the art style and animation directions of the reboot massively differ between the reboot and the original. The older She-Ra, in some ways, seems as if it was directed towards the teens of the time. Adult-looking characters, sharp jawlines, toxic masculinity even in women, you name it. The fight scenes, too, were way too realistic in the sense that it wasn't flashy at all, just straight up pulling punches and maybe a hint of VFX here and there. Even the world looked all gloomy and depressing, except for where the heroes lived, since that's the general idea they were trying to push. The reboot, on the other hand, doesn't even resemble the older art style at all. A beautiful world with beautiful people, flashy combat, and fluid animations, all while having extremely atmospheric villain hideouts and threatening-looking villains themselves. It's a perfect blend of everything. 6. Antagonists. Why have so many pretty princesses capable of combat if they aren't going to fight no one? Let's pay some respects to our beloved antagonists Horde Prime and Hordak. Hordak was the original antagonist of She-Ra, the Princess of Power, and was unfortunately portrayed as a one-dimensional, will rule the world kind of villain, with his failed attempts of acting menacing. We finally got some insight into his lore, as well as how basically everyone considered him a clone of Hordrick Prime. We'll get to him in a sec. And his struggle to regain Hordrick's favor and prove his worth because he was looked upon as a defect. Hordrick Prime is a new character added in the reboot. He's on a mission to, guess what, dominate the world. Bet no one saw that coming, huh? He's a cold-hearted, self-centered individual who, unlike Hordak, is extremely calm yet equally as tyrannical and thinks of himself as nothing less than a god. 7. Princesses Alliance. The group of rebels who fought against Hordak and his army was originally called the Rebels Alliance. The Alliance's name got changed to Princesses Alliance to basically promote the idea of women empowerment? Yeah, I'm confused too. This was allegedly done to promote feminist ideologies, which can be seen throughout the reboot. But hey, fans also speculate that there could be another reason for this change. Take the names in the show as an example. Bright Moon and the other kingdoms haven't actually been taken over by the Horde, so it would not make any sense for the Princess Alliance to be called the Rebellion. In the 80s show, the Horde had pretty much taken over the entire planet, and the heroes had been forced to take refuge in the Whispering Woods. This is definitely not the case in the reboot, since the major kingdoms had been mostly untouched at the start of the series and the Horde seems mostly confined to the Fright Zone. This could be due to the lack of world building in the series, as the Horde had actually taken over most of Etheria, with Bright Moon and the other kingdoms being the last ones standing. 8. Romance. The reboot also brings us some spicy romance between Catra and Adora. This was apparent pretty much throughout the entirety of the reboot, and was confirmed near the end, when Adora is about to sacrifice herself to save everyone else, but Catra gives her the courage to pull through. Also, during Carta's speech as she gives Adora hope, she confesses her love for Adora but tries pretending it off. To her surprise, Adora expresses her love back for Carta, but this isn't the only new affair the reboot had to offer. Though it seemed as if Scorpia had some feelings for Catra, she ended up getting way closer to Perfuma. Now, their relationship wasn't exactly shown, but it's heavily implied that they cared about each other, and most likely started a relationship after the series ended, as Perfuma is one of the only people who believe that Scorpia can overcome her mind control. Surprisingly, Scorpia also stumbles over her words in the finale, commenting on how great Perfuma looks. 9. Side characters. She-Ra's mum, for once, isn't just another sexy-looking white lady, and actually looks like what you'd expect her mother to be like, old, weak, and caring. All the other princesses, too, feel like characters that belong in the story, with everyone playing some role along the way. Perfuma was one of the most annoying characters, but now she's, well, not perfect, but a lot more bearable. Bo was depicted just as a loyal friend, but now we can see him as the tech genius he really is, bringing in a little bit of humor every now and then. Swift Wind, Adora's horse, barely had any useful voice lines. He too was blessed with a quirky split personality every time he transformed. Some might even say he's horsing around. 10. The viewer's experience and target audience. What is that one thing every millennial you see loves? Intense action sequences and lots of bang bang. That's pretty much all there was to be offered by the series back then, because we don't care how miserable you are and what you've been through. All I want to see is someone getting hurt and our heroes kicking some ass. But this reboot has a lot more to offer. There are entire episodes dedicated to the growth of a single character, for example, prom dates, which show us what these characters are like in their daily lives. So, portraying their personal selves and building an emotional bond between all these fictional 2D men and women also makes it more relatable for the person watching. It really shows how much care and attention was given to each and every character, and no one gets left behind. Everyone plays a role one way or another. That's why both the versions are truly amazing in their own way, and I'd highly recommend y'all adding it to your watch list, be it because you genuinely feel like watching the show or just in the lookout for some new R34 material. Hopefully this vid was helpful to you. Do check out the channel for more spicy content and subscribe to the channel. It's literally free. Love you, and I'll catch ya in the next one.